Right. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us for another WKS podcast. This time I'm with Dissenter. How are you doing?
Hi there, pal. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Do you want to start off by sort of telling us how you got into music in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So it was kind of an accident in a way. I'd always gone the kind of drama route, the acting. I was put into an acting club when I was 8 years old. My mum said I was too dramatic. So when I was in high school, I was having a little bit of a rough time though. And one of my teachers actually recommended that I start learning an instrument as a kind of like pastime, as a hobby to keep my mind off things. So I picked up the ukulele, only four strings. I mean, how easy can
Yeah.
it be? And that kind of kicked it off for me when I had a couple of lessons on the ukulele, and then I found my mum's old guitar, and I thought, well, I'll give that a bash. I'll see what that's like. And I was about 15 at the time, 14, 15, and I literally fell in love. It was like I finally found a language that I was fluent in, that I
Right.
could speak in, because I've always struggled with my emotions to be able to understand them, to be able to explain them. So for me, music was like being set free. Finally, all the words that I wanted to say to people were coming out when I was playing these instruments. So I was completely overcome by this kind of spirit of music, and I just started putting together these kind of songs. Now, I had no experience in music theory. I'd not studied music in school. I just loved music. I loved listening to it, and it was my life. So I pieced together a little album in 2016, my first album, Wilson, on my iPhone 5 with my ukulele and my guitar and my vocals, and that was it for me. And I just kept releasing, I just kept creating, because it was, again, like I said, it was like I'd found a language that I could finally speak in.
Mm.
So I was completely overjoyed, and it's taken me to this day. It was a hobby for so long, and then in 2019, I was given the amazing opportunity by Legion Management to sign on to a contract with them to be able to kind of be taken more seriously as a musician. And I didn't know any of this about management contracts and stuff. So I was completely overwhelmed and humbled. And I was like,
Mm.
wow, this thing that I've been doing, that I've been so passionate about as a hobby, could actually turn into a route for work. So,
Okay.
and here I am today.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Fantastic. So you've obviously got a very strong image. Is that the image you've taken that right from the beginning, or is this something that's developed over the time?
It has been developing for a couple of years, but it was all based around a little schoolbook sketch that I did. It was a kind of sketched character with kind of dark eyes, like no eyes, and a wee nose, and a wee mouth, and a neck. And so I started kind of experimenting with alternative makeup when I was about 16, 17. But when I first started making cover videos on YouTube, it was always with the sunglasses on, and it was always with this kind of, you know, thing kind of covering it up, because I didn't quite have the confidence to be able to really step out and be bold.
Mm.
And then last year, I'd kind of developed it to the stage where I had black eyes. It was my look for going out to the open mics, and I had these kind of two dots here and then some kind of dots there as well. And it was really funky. I really liked it, but I thought to myself, you know what? Since it's the pandemic, and since now one of the only ways that I could market myself this past year has been on social media, has been online, why not create a really strong image to draw people in, so that maybe if they only listen to 30 seconds of my music, at least I've
Mm.
brought them in, at least I've
Mm.
intrigued them,
Mm.
and at least they've listened. And in a world obsessed with visuals, why not play on that?
Yeah. No, fair play, fair play. So, where would you sort of set your style of music then, genre-wise? I know it's a difficult question sometimes, but where would you actually, put yourself, if at
I would.
all?
Oh, it's a difficult one, isn't it? The
Yeah.
kind of umbrella of music is so broad these days, and there's so many new genres kind of popping up. But I would say that I was definitely kind of alternative rock or grunge. I used to be bedroom grunge, but not so much anymore since I've got management. I've been given the amazing opportunity to be able to go into a studio and record a song. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's not been possible. So for the music I've got coming out soon, it has been recorded in this cupboard. So
Okay.
technically, it is still bedroom music,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
just in a different space. So I would
Okay.
I would say, yeah, alternative. Yeah.
Okay, so what music is out there if people want to listen to it? What have you actually got out there now?
So you can head over to my Spotify. My name is Dissenter on Spotify. I have two albums on there, my 2016 album Back to the Chemist and my 2018 album Suicide Heights, as well as my latest studio single, my very first studio single that I did with my management Legion called Vivid Dreaming. And that was a year old a couple of months ago, and it's reached about 1.8k streams on Spotify. So again, I want to thank everybody for all the support that's been
Mm,
given to that
mm.
track. But on SoundCloud, you can find my very first album as well, called Wilson, which was also from 2016, along with a 2017 extended play titled Closure. That's over on my SoundCloud.
Brilliant, absolutely superb. So, do you write and perform as a solo then? Is that your thing?
At the moment, yeah, it would be cool to have a band in the future, though, I must admit. Imagine trying to get people to deck up looking like me on a stage. It would be quite interesting. But yeah, it's just me for the time being. I usually go on stage with my little ukulele and then just
Okay.
kind of belt out some vocals.
Okay. I don't know if you get a chance to look back through some of the interviews I've done. I interviewed an American band a little while back. I think they're called Illusions of Grandeur.
Okay.
And very similar, all heavily made up makeup and all this sort of stuff. So you want to check it out. They are quite
Definitely.
phenomenal. Yeah.
I'm going to
Uh,
get on to them,
yeah.
yeah.
So what's your creative process like then? What's it like for you to write songs? How do you do it?
It mostly starts off as poetry for me. I kind of, when I first started writing songs when I was 15, 16, it was always these little fragments of kind of like words and phrases that would just kind of come to my mind and I would write them down. And then as time progressed, I realised that it was poetry. I was a wee bit of a poet. And even though I used to think it was really cringy writing poetry, nowadays I find it really releasing and it definitely is the start of my songs. I'll get a poem or I'll get a couple of lines that I've had appear in my head, written on a note on my phone, put them together with a chord progression. At the moment, I've been challenging myself to try out different instruments, different sounds, different vibes. So for my upcoming extended play titled Innocent Until Proven Guilty, which is out on the 3rd of next month, it's more of a kind of alt pop sound, but it's a lot of electric instruments. I wanted to really
Mm,
challenge myself to write something on the piano and the keys rather than my usual kind of rock style on the guitar or the ukulele. So it's always the words and then it's the progression and then I just see how my feelings take me really. A lot of my
mm,
music is based on how I feel. I always sit down and ask myself how I'm feeling that day and then
yeah.
just channel it through as much as I can.
Superb. Brilliant. So which other artists do you sort of most admire then?
Oh, there's lots of bigger ones, there's smaller ones. I would say my inspirations for starting music itself was Cavetown, who was also a DIY musician, completely self-made, and now is really quite popular now. I'm not sure if he's got management now or what have you, but it was Cavetown, an artist called Flat Sound, who was also a DIY musician as well, and uh, an artist called Frank Iero, who was in a band called My Chemical Romance. He's got a couple of side projects that I really, really like. I love his passion. That's what
Mm,
gets me the most about artists. It's not about sounding good, it's about really portraying that message and kind of that feeling to the vocals. So Frank Iero definitely inspires me the most, but there's lots of little artists that I'm kind of friends with at the moment. There's Opal Remus. Look out for him on Spotify. He's up and coming. His stuff is really, really good. There is Ida Therese. She is also absolutely brilliant, a Norwegian YouTuber and musician who I've learnt a lot from. And there is a couple other people that don't quite come to mind, but I would give shout outs if I had
mm.
prepared.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So of all of your sort of tracks that you've got and you played, have you got a favorite that you like to perform?
I would I would say a track called Hospital Home, and purely because in the last 2 years, it's only been the last 2 years that I've started gigging in and around Glasgow, open mic nights, venues, and I actually found that when I performed Hospital Home, I got quite a good reaction from the crowd. people were resonating with it. People were coming up to me afterwards and going, you know, that song that you sung, I actually really resonated with that, and that really touched me, and that really hit home. And for me, as an artist who, you know, struggles with kind of emotions and who really does therapize through music, it means a lot to me because it makes me feel like I'm less alone as well. But most importantly, I just can't believe that people are able to connect with, you know, my music. I still
Mm,
find it quite
mm.
strange, this whole thing about being a musician and putting part of your soul out onto the earth. But Hospital Home for sure, and I can't wait to play it live again when things get back up and running.
Yes, yeah. Obviously, did you find with the lockdown that I mean, musically, obviously, you couldn't get out there, nobody could, but your songwriting side, did it, you know, how did it affect you? Were you productive or did it just kill it totally?
It was a little bit of a spanner in the works at first because I had just released my first studio single, Vivid Dreamin', and we were all set to record an extended play in the studio when it hit and everything kind of shut down. But if there's one thing that I run on, it's this passion that I have for music and this kind of burning fire that I have inside me to be able to create. And being able to create and write a collection of songs for me is really healing as well. It's a process that I need to go through to be able to get over things that have happened. So I said to my managers, you know what? I'm gonna write a collection of songs in a cupboard. I'm gonna make this into a studio and use the equipment that I've gathered over the past 6 years of
Yeah.
already being a bedroom musician and just go full speed ahead. And they said, you know what, that could work because we've got a sound engineer who is able to be able to put together all of your tracks if you know dismantle your songs, and he'd be able to mix them properly for you, master them. So we came to this amazing kind of agreement, this way that it worked. So I did record 6 songs in this little
Mm,
cupboard that I can't really open my arms up in.
wow.
And a hole in the ceiling that I'm always afraid a spider's gonna fall down on me. But that's one thing that I want to be able to portray to other people. You know, when I'm in the process of promoting this extended play the now, and one of my marketing strategies is using this cupboard to show people that you don't need a studio space, you
Mm,
don't need a big recording environment, you don't even need
mm,
fancy equipment or top of the range gear or an advanced knowledge for music. All you need is that passion inside you to be able to create, and that
yeah,
drive and that motivation. And no matter what space you're in, you can do it. And so I just really
yeah,
want to inspire other people throughout lockdown, because who knows what could happen in the future
yeah,
with studios with all these rules. So
yeah,
people
yeah.
should create anyway.
Brilliant, absolutely superb. So what do you think has been the best sort of bit of advice that you've been given then?
Don't focus on the numbers. Focus on the fun, because as soon as you start watching the followers that you're gathering, and when you become focused on the amount of people that have streamed your song on
Mm,
Spotify, or the amount of subscribers or comments or likes that you get on a post, it completely eliminates the fun, because then you're drawn into a world of comparison against
yeah,
everybody else on the internet. And it's so toxic on social media because
yeah,
it's so fake. You don't know what's real, you don't know who's doing what. So if you can keep yourself into that little world of passion and fun and energy,
mm,
then music's always going to be good for you. And even if, you know, you don't make it big, it won't matter to you because you're having fun.
superb, absolutely superb. If you could open for any band or artist that's either gone or is around now, who would you go for?
Ooh, I don't know. I would. Oh, I would probably actually say Cave Town, because that's where it all began for me. You know, being able to share a stage with another DIY musician who's built themselves up from scratch and who has ran on the same kind of passion would be a really, really incredible experience. And he's kind of almost a similar kind of style. He uses the ukulele as his main instrument in a lot of his songs as well. So it's this kind of bedroom pop kind of vibe.
Mm,
But he's gone on to inspire a lot of other people to do the same and to create, to self-produce, to self-teach. So it would almost be like going full circle to open for him.
right. Yes. So have you got a like a website or do you use Facebook mainly? You know, people want to sort of, you know, focus in on you. Where can they go?
So you can head over to my website, www.dissenter.us, and you'll find everything that you need to know. Social media pages, you'll find my music, you'll find my store as well, some gig videos as well on there.
Brilliant, brilliant. Right, the final question, and I ask everybody this question. Have you got anybody that you'd like to thank for you being here musically now?
I would very much like to thank my management over at Legion, Gemma and Chris, for giving me this opportunity to be able to take something that I love more seriously, but also for believing in me and for, giving me this opportunity. Every day I feel so humbled to be able to have these people on my side that support my music, that get my ideas, that understand me as a musician and want to be able to have my back. But I would also like to thank my friend Abigail and my friend Tia, because they've always streamed my music since day one. When I used to stay down south for a little bit, and I kind of met them there, and that was when I kind of debuted, I suppose, as Dissenter and started making videos, started releasing my music, and they've always passed on that passion. They've always shared my stuff and resonated with my music, and starting off's really difficult as a musician because you don't know anybody that's going to like your stuff. You don't know what your demographic is. So to be able to have those two people having my back from the beginning means the absolute world, and they have really built me up. So thank you to everybody really that has listened to my music and that has helped me to be able to get to where I am today.
Absolutely fantastic. It's been really nice chatting to you. Very interesting. And I do get the small room bit, because this room really is
It's cool though. It's a vibe. It's like a kind of atmospheric podcast, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. I'm only doing this purely because I believe that music and artists, it's a way out of there, isn't it? You've got as many avenues as possible, really. And so, like for me, I mean, I'm non-profit, and I just do it because I really enjoy it. So brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I really
No
appreciate it. It's been
problems.
great talking to you today, pal.
No problem. And good luck with everything. All
Thank
right.
you so much.
All
Thank you.
right.
Take care.
See ya.